In this episode, we talk about a transgender health clinic being shut down due to USAID funds being paused. We also talk about a female software professional who was found dead in her house in Hyderabad. But first, we talk about BJP presidential elections. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. The Bharatiya Janata Party is facing a transition as it prepares to elect its next party president. With the 2024 Lok Sabha elections behind them and the 2025 Bihar elections looming, the leadership change is crucial. Over the past few months, discussions within the party have intensified as the BJP leadership, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Home Minister Amit Shah, strategize over the next president. Current party chief JP Nadda's term has been extended multiple times, signaling the party's caution in making a change. In this segment, my colleague Ichha Sharma talks to the Indian Express's Vikas Pathak, who breaks down why the process is moving slowly and what efforts are being made to ensure a consensus over the candidate who is given the post.
Vikas, could you start by telling us why has the selection process for the new BJP president been delayed? And also, how can this delay affect the party's planning for the upcoming elections?
There's some unexpected delay because as per the plans of the party, they were supposed to finish off at least half of the state president elections by around January 15. And then the next step, as per the BJP's constitution, was the appointment of the national president. So there has been some delay because right now, as far as I know, they have completed just around 12 state president elections. And what is required as per the BJP's constitution is that you need to complete at least half of the state president's elections or whatever selections, because many a time it's a consensus candidate. In fact, most of the time the candidate is always consensus. So whatever it is, so once half the state presidents are in place, which basically means 18 is the number, then the decks are cleared for the appointment of the BJP national president, again by consensus. Though the party constitution technically provides for, election, formal election means a contest, but generally the party prefers a consensus, which has always happened in the BJP at the national president level. So, since it is only 12 right now, and it has been 12 for quite a few days, that means there is a clear delay. And once they complete 18, then the next round will be the BJP national president. So, till then, JP Nanda is handling the position of the BJP president. He's on extension. And it may not affect coming elections at all because Bihar is still a distance away. There's only one election in this year, which is the Bihar election. And by that time, even if the party does it in 1 month's time, say, even after that, the new president has ample time to be preparing for Bihar.
Right, and as you just spoke of the state elections, could you tell us what are the different levels of elections that take place before the national president is selected?
Yeah, so as per the BJP's constitution, the lowest level is the booth level. So there's booth level elections, you get booth presidents. They then have their own team at the booth level. Then once in a particular state, half the booth level elections are over, they can elect, the mandal presidents. Then the mandal presidents will have their own teams, their office bearers. Above that, again, once half the mandal presidents' appointments are done or elections are done, then you have the Zilla level, the district level. And once half the district level elections are over, the district presidents are in and they then choose their teams, the state president election can be done. Once half the state president elections are over, then you can elect the national president. As per the party's constitution, generally the party prefers consensus candidates at each level. At each level, which means that there'll be an election officer. Say, if we are looking at Zilla elections, the district president elections, there'll be an election officer appointed by the party, the Zilla Chunav Adhikari. This election officer will give a list of 3 names or 5 names. That will be in consultation with local workers and all. Now, out of those 5 names, there'll be consultation with the state unit as well as with the central leadership of the party. And eventually one name from those 3 that are decided upon as a shortlist. Once consultations at the state level take place and the central level take place, out of those 3, one will be chosen by consensus. In case no consensus is possible, then there's always a possibility at the lower levels for an electoral contest. But that is something that the party generally avoids. So, these are the levels, and booth, mandal, Zilla, state, and then national president.
And And because during your reportage, you spoke with several BJP leaders, across states. So what do they attribute the delay to?
Very frankly speaking, people even in the BJP tasked with the purpose of, having some responsibility during the organization elections, even they are not very sure. So there are theories that are floating because there's a buzz around, people are discussing it. So one theory, of course, still a few days back was certainly that the priority of the party was, the Delhi election. And the party contested the Delhi election with great gusto. And it was almost like, not just a Vidhan Sabha, but almost like a Lok Sabha election. Because in Delhi, the party had not won an election for 27 years. So since all the energies of the party were spent on Delhi and party leaders from different states were involved, one impression that people had was that the delay in the organizational elections is because of the Delhi elections. Once the Delhi elections are over, things will speed up. Now, after the Delhi elections, we also had around the same time the Manipur crisis. So the Manipur crisis was diffused. Biren Singh resigned as chief minister and president's rule was imposed. In fact, the assembly is in suspended animation. After that, you had the choice of the Delhi chief minister. Even that is over now, more than a week ago. So people were expecting a sudden speeding up, but till now, as far as I know, the speeding up has not really happened. So the second theory that is afloat in the party is that perhaps the party is yet to zero in on the face of the national president. The discussions are still on. A consensus maybe has not come up till now. And therefore, it has slowed down the organizational elections because once you have half the states in place, the next step is always the national president. If you delay after that, the confusion will be more. So what has been done perhaps is that the state elections have been slightly delayed so that they are timed with the choice of the BJP national president.
Also, in your article, you speak of the states that have completed specific levels of elections, but there wasn't any push since from the central leadership. So could you tell us what is the status of elections in these states?
Yeah, so at different levels, there are states like Madhya Pradesh where almost all the Zilla level elections are complete. So Madhya Pradesh is just awaiting a state president. There are also states like, say, Jharkhand, which were just at booth level up to 6-7 days ago. There are states like UP where the Zilla level is still on. There are states like Bihar where Zilla level is almost complete. So different states are at different stages. But the sense of urgency that was there a month ago is not there. They are not getting signals yet to speed up things very quickly, which is why, the state leaders are awaiting the signals from the center. And one theory that is doing the rounds is that they will perhaps not complete 18 states till they are sure as to who is going to be the national BJP president. That is just a theory because people having responsibilities in the entire process, they are also not sure. They do not have a definitive word on it. So these are all theories that because people are discussing within the party why this delay.
And also, Vikas, you speak about the struggle over the selection of leaders in some states. So could you talk about why is that there exactly?
Look, generally the BJP under Mr. Modi has been quite a disciplined party, but there are issues that arise in some states. So, for example, Karnataka saw a major issue happening when Vasant Gowda Patil Yatnal actually started making statements against Vijayendra, the son of Yediyurappa and the BJP Karnataka chief. And Yatnal's statements continued to come. Eventually, the party served him 2 show cause notices, asking him why action should not be taken against him. So Karnataka saw open defiance with a section of leaders, the Yatnal lobby, saying that we do not want Yediyurappa's son. He's too inexperienced. He's not too efficient. So they made public statements. Similarly, we saw in Haryana, Anil Vij, 7-time MLA, a very senior politician, making statements against Chief Minister Naib Singh Saini and also Mohanlal Badoli, who is the party state chief. So again, he was also served a show cause notice. In Rajasthan, it has been a problem for months on end, where Kirodi Lal Meena had been making statements. Kirodi Lal Meena resigned as a minister. His resignation was not accepted. So even his status was where, people did not know, is he a minister? Is he not a minister? People said he stopped coming to the ministry. So all this happened. Even after that, he made a statement that, the state government was trying to snoop on him. So there have been problems arising in some states. And there have always been problems, so the central leadership can perhaps diffuse it. We also saw that Uttar Pradesh saw some problems months ago when the deputy chief minister started, making cryptic remarks which were interpreted as against the chief minister Yogi Adityanath. But UP right now is a bit better. But Karnataka, of course, has been a major problem. So, there has been some sign of dissent in some states, which is why perhaps the choice has been far more complicated, because the party central leadership takes the final call, but they'll have to weigh in on the situation. Which call is more beneficial? So that is the situation.
And lastly, considering the delay, when is the new BJP national president expected to be announced? And also, could you tell us who are the key contenders for this position?
So far as the first question is concerned, these are all off-the-record statements. One date that was offered days ago by a senior party leader to some journalists was around 20th or 25th of March. Now we are already into the 4th of March. But off the record, some of the leaders said that might be too early. It might be March end. This morning, I talked to someone who understands the election process and is part of it, and the person said that I frankly don't know. So the thing is, at the earliest you could think of close to the end of this month, and it could also spill over slightly to some days later than that. But I don't think it is happening anytime in the next 15-20 days, unless they speed up very quickly. That will depend on, if the second theory is true, whether they have decided, zeroed in, if there's a consensus between Mr. Modi, Mr. Amit Shah and also RSS on who is the name for the next president. There'll be one name that will come up. So, till now there have been so many speculations. So frankly speaking, no one can predict the name of the next president, because some people have begun to say it might be an OBC leader, some minister who's an OBC, some people say it might be a woman. So I don't think there's any point of getting into that speculation, because it will be someone whom Mr. Modi as well as the RSS can trust, and is someone who's in that sense a disciplined, middle of the line operator. And of course, then other factors like gender, caste, region, etc. may also become important. But there are so many faces among all those equations that we can talk about, that to zero in on one or two names will not be easy.
And next we talk about a transgender health clinic being shut down due to a lack of funds. On 20th of January, US President Donald Trump signed an executive order pausing US foreign development assistance for 90 days. This assistance included funds from the United States Agency for International Development, also known as USAID, which was established in the 1960s to provide humanitarian and developmental aid worldwide. Now, India has been a recipient of USAID funds as well. However, with the funding now on hold, the future of many programs and organizations remains uncertain. One such example is the Hyderabad-based Mitr, the first comprehensive transgender health clinic in the country, which bore the brunt of the USAID funding cut. Due to a lack of funds, the clinic was forced to shut down indefinitely. In this segment, the Indian Express's Nikhila Henry joins us to talk about the clinic and how it was affected by the funding shortfall. Nikhila, can you tell us what the USAID funds aimed to do and how they have helped India in particular?
So the USAID fund, or the United States Agency for International Development Funds, not just helped India, but also, countries in Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa and Europe, especially Ukraine. So these funds were basically going towards healthcare, education, disaster mitigation and relief, and things like that. So that's basically what the funds were for. So what happened was that on January 20th, the United States President Donald Trump signed an executive order which basically paused U.S. foreign development assistance for 90 days. So this included the USAID funds as well. So there were several projects which were running through, say, NGOs in different countries based on the USAID funds, right? So what happened was that when the fund freeze happened, that is a pause for 90 days happened, much of the operations of the USAID kind of stopped.
And now that these funds have been stopped, we see that its brunt is being faced by a transgender health clinic in Hyderabad. So tell us about that. What did the people associated with the clinic have to say?
So funds of USAID, which was being distributed to different NGOs or projects in countries like India. And one such project was a clinic for transgender people in Hyderabad. And on January 24th, that is 4 days after Mr. Trump signed the executive order, this particular clinic closed down indefinitely. So what the people associated with the clinic told me was that, they were told that the clinic will cease to function and that they will have to put out a notice telling the community people that till further instructions, the clinic will be closed down. And there is a board which displays in 4 languages that the clinic will be closed until further instructions in front of the clinic right now. One of the people who was associated with the clinic, she was a counselor at the clinic, and she basically said that, the clinic closing down has affected them quite a lot, and it has affected the trans community in general in Hyderabad because they were relying on the clinic for basic healthcare needs. The clinic had catered to over 2,500 people over the past 4 years, and the clinic had a 6% HIV positivity rate. That is, and 83% of those who were diagnosed at the clinic were being provided with antiretroviral therapy or ART. So all these things basically came to a grinding halt, and one of the people who was the end user of this clinic, Jayanti Vasanta Mogli, she basically said that she was devastated that the clinic shut down because it provided her a place for healthcare and also the members of the community a place for healthcare. And it was very devastating is what she told me.
And can you tell us a little bit more about this clinic? Like, what kind of services did it provide and how it helped the transgender community?
Yeah, so the clinic called the Mitr clinic that started in January 2021. So it was being commissioned by a particular NGO called YRG Cares, and it was funded by the USAID through YRG Cares. Mitr was a very small clinic which had one doctor, one lab assistant, one counselor, and 2 community mobilizers who mobilized people from the new city and the old city, Hyderabad. So those people, from what I understand after speaking to people who were associated with the clinic, is that they have not found any work as of now. They are still on the lookout for some opportunities which will be productive along the line of work which they have been doing. The clinic basically provided basic healthcare facilities for trans people in Hyderabad and surrounding areas. And while it started as a clinic which catered to the new city and old city of Hyderabad, it basically also catered to people, from different states, especially the southern states in the country, where people would travel to Hyderabad and avail healthcare from this clinic. So other than basic healthcare, they used to provide screening and treatment for AIDS, that is ART service, and they also used to provide guidance in gender affirmation. So these were the services which were being given, but basic healthcare was the major part of it, and the other major part of it was providing relief in the case of contracting AIDS.
But were they solely dependent on the funds coming from the USAID, since they had to shut down as soon as the announcement was made?
Yes. So what happened was that, the majority of the funding for this clinic, the clinic's budget, from what I have understood, was, rupees 2 lakh per month. And the majority of this was being funded by USAID through the NGO and through a program called Accelerate. So when about 90% of your funding gets cut, right, it becomes difficult for you to kind of function. And that's what people in the know told me, because majority of the funding for the clinic came from USAID. It was impossible for them to kind of continue.
And we also hear that Elon Musk responded to this news.
Yes, on February 28th, Elon Musk, who is a senior advisor to the Trump administration and the world's richest man, wrote on X. He basically shared a post about this Mitr clinic, which said that the clinic closed down. And he wrote this particular line, which said, that's what American tax dollars were funding. So it was sort of a jibe towards the clinic and what USAID stood for. And that's basically what he wrote.
So, Nikhila, what is the current situation? Does the clinic have any support? Is the state government helping them out in any way?
The clinic does not have any support as of now, but people associated with the clinic have sought help from the state government and the Congress government in Telangana, because the Congress government has this project where 33 districts in the state already has at least rudimentary transgender clinics. Yeah, so if Mitr could be adopted by the state government is a question, which people associated with the clinic are asking. It has not been granted, or the state has not taken cognizance of this, but that's the hope.
And Nikhila, you also write that a consultant who was working at the clinic said that Trump's policies against trans persons is affecting those in India too. So was that an underlying reason for the USAID funds to be pulled back?
So there are two aspects to this. One is that the US aid funds itself, had come under the scrutiny of the US President Donald Trump. And he basically thinks that, or he has said that the spending is totally unexplainable as far as the USAID funding is concerned. So when he put a pause on the foreign funding which the US was doing, it was basically his skepticism towards the US aid which stopped the funding. And it did not have much to do with his understanding of the transgender community or the needs of the transgender community per se. But one of the people whom I spoke to spoke about how Trump's policy has been against transgender people in general is because, in the US now there is some move to kind of replace gender affirmation or looking at gender as a construct and not as something which is assigned at birth. The US policy seems to be rethinking that. So they are trying to replace, like in government forms, the column where it says gender, they would like to replace it with sex. So now sex assigned at birth is a huge problem for trans people, and it becomes very difficult for trans persons to kind of be in that situation where they have to go back and report that their sex assigned at birth is their gender. So it has come down to that, at least as far as US is concerned, and that policy is reflected in the rest of the world as well. So that's what that trans person who spoke to me meant when they said that Donald Trump's policies against trans persons has affected the clinic. But it is primarily the US aid fund cut which has brought an end to the clinic. The transgender policy of the US government, as led by President Donald Trump, is only secondary to it.
And do we have any idea on what else has been affected due to these fund cuts? Or do we see this impacting certain other services in the future?
So everything which was funded by the USAID has been affected. So this is not just affecting a Mitr clinic in Hyderabad or such healthcare clinics in India. For example, USAID used to fund food for people who are starving in countries, where there is starvation. So it has affected everything across the world. And to a great extent, there is a certain uncertainty, which is associated with USAID now. And we do not know how exactly it is going to progress, whether these funds will be restored, whether Mitr will be able to function again. We do not know. And neither do people from the community who are end users, and neither do people who were associated with the clinic. So everything is in a state of flux as of now, till a concrete policy comes from the US as far as USAID is concerned.
And in the end, we talk about a software professional who was found dead at her home in Hyderabad. The incident happened on Monday, following which the police are investigating all possibilities, including a dowry harassment angle as alleged by her mother. According to the Raidurgam police, the woman, identified as K. Devika, is suspected to have died by suicide. She allegedly had a fight with her husband, Satish Chandra, whom she married 6 months ago, and locked herself in her room on Sunday night. He is said to have left the home immediately and returned late at night. The police has said that no suicide note has been recovered from the house. The husband, the police added, realized his wife's death after he woke up the next morning and got no response from her. He informed their neighbors and Devika's mother, Rama Lakshmi, who then approached the police with a complaint. In her complaint, Ramalakshmi alleged that her daughter took the extreme step due to dowry-related harassment from Satish Chandra. While living in the apartment in Prashanthi Hills in Raidurgam, the couple frequently fought over petty issues, according to the police. Ramalakshmi alleged that Satish physically and emotionally abused Devika for her wealth. She said that Satish wanted her to transfer the ownership of a piece of land in Vikrabad and the apartment her mother stayed in to his name. Ramalakshmi also questioned how the husband could be unaware of something that happened in the next room of the same house. An officer of the Raidurgam police said, quote, "They worked together in the same company in Bengaluru and after marriage moved to Hyderabad to work in the same company's city branch here. They had frequent fights over petty issues. We have a complaint from the mother of the deceased and the investigation is ongoing." Unquote. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's episode was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Ichha Sharma and me, Niharika Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcast and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.